Class is in session, beautiful midlife maven. Today we are diving into the spleen center and specifically the fears that live in the spleen center. So before you listen to this episode, you should have an idea of what your body graph looks like. So if you don't have your human design chart already downloaded and saved to your phone, then go to my website right now, www.lorilisai.com, LORILISAI.com, and go to get your chart, put in your birth information, and get your body graph chart so you can see which of the spleen gates I'm talking about actually applies to you. Which ones are colored in or defined in your chart? And thereby, which of the spleen fears might you be struggling with or potentially might be at play? Because when I was thinking about doing this episode, it was because I talked to so many midlife women who are letting fear hold them back, essentially. And I was getting curious, like, what is at the root of that? And of course, human design has an answer for just about everything in life, including our fears. Our fears live in both the spleen and the solar plexus. Today, we're looking at the spleen fears in particular. And so let's dive into this session. I am your host, Lori Lisai, human design teacher and midlife coach, here to help you use human design to shed the shoulds and be who you came here to be. Class is in session. Welcome back to Midlife by Design. Today, we are going to talk about the fear gates in the spleen. And as a reminder, the gates in human design are the little numbers in the body graph. So each of the different shapes called energy centers has numbers inside, and each of those numbers is a gate. And each of the gates are actually gifts that we bring into this lifetime. But the thing about the gates in the spleen is that they also have fears attached to them. And it's important to recognize that we came here with our designs as absolute perfection, and part of these spleen gates are attached to fears because the spleen is our oldest energy center. It's what connects us to the animal kingdom, and it's the kind of energy that holds intuition but also has fears in order to keep us safe. What I want to talk about today, though, is how these fears can actually hold us back. And whether that's a career shift, whether it's investing in yourself in like a program or a retreat, for example, whether it's setting boundaries, whether it's just simply dreaming and feeling like it's okay to want more. Fears keep us small, but we are here to name it. And one of the reasons that I love human design is that it gives us the language to be able to talk about what's going on inside us and with our energy. So we can name the specific fears, which then allows us to understand them more deeply and ultimately to be able to move through them. So, what are the fear gates and why do they matter? The fear gates live, as I said, in the spleen center, which is all about survival. It's all about intuition. It's all about instincts. It's that center that we share with the animal kingdom. It's that energy of the gazelle starting to run away from the saber-toothed tiger before she even knows that it's there. So these fears aren't logical, right? They're old, they're wired into our nervous system, and they're oftentimes unconscious. They may not even be clear to us when we're thinking about why we aren't taking action on something. And in midlife, I think that there's a distinct possibility that these fears become even louder because midlife is such a time of being at a crossroads where the old ways of doing things, the way that we've taken action in our lives for decades, isn't working for us anymore, or it feels like a disconnect. And so stepping into something new triggers a survival level fear because we feel like, holy shit, how do I make this change when I've never done this before? I've never even contemplated this before. I have no idea what this might look like. And automatically, our nervous system and everything within us wants to keep us safe, which means not going toward change. So the problem is that we think the fear means don't do it, like don't take action. But actually, it's just a signal of growth. It's an invitation into a different level. So when you're feeling that fear, it's a beautiful chance for you to get curious about what is coming up for you when you're feeling the fear. Why is that coming up for you? And are there ways that you could disprove it? Has there ever been anything in your life, even the tiniest little chance you took or change you made, that actually worked out for the betterment of your personal development, or just you as a human being were far happier when you took that little risk? This gives you the opportunity to build evidence around disproving these fears, which ultimately gives you confidence to take more risks in the future. So what I'd like to do now is just break down briefly each of the different gates. And I want you to understand that they can all keep you in this place of self-doubt, in this place of waiting for permission, stuck in inaction. But each gate has its own specific flavor. So gate 48 is called the gate of depth. And ultimately, this gate is about a fear of inadequacy. It's this feeling of, I'm not ready. I'm not ready because I need another certification before I can change careers. I couldn't possibly apply to that job because I haven't checked every single box of what they're looking for. I have to get in shape before I invest in a retreat. I can't possibly be 20 pounds overweight and put my body in a bathing suit on a beach. I can't invest in a retreat right now because I have to spend money on other people first. This fear convinces you that you, just you as the beautiful human that you are not enough to begin with. And this belief that you're not enough keeps you chasing external validation instead of actually accepting yourself just as you are, the beautiful, messy human that you are in this moment. Let's talk about gate 57. Gate 57 is intuitive clarity, also, though, fear of the future. It says, what if this doesn't work out? What if I fail? What if I waste money? What if it's the wrong choice? Listen, the future is always unknown. And at any point in time, we have infinite possibilities in front of us. Anything can happen. It's science. We live in a quantum universe. So that means that any possibility is available to us at any one time. And whatever we choose to focus on is where that energy goes. There have been so many experiments and evidence to show us that this is true, that the expectations of the observer, or the expectations of the one who is in the experience, dictate the outcome of the experience. So the future is unknown. However, this fear in particular, gate 57, makes it seem like certainty is possible when actually certainty is not possible. You're never going to know with 100% certainty that you won't fail. However, if you don't take the chance, if you worry about what's next, then that is creating the reality that you don't want. That is what is actually preventing you from being present and appreciating yourself in the now and taking action from that bold place that believes in what you want to do. The next gate is gate 44, the gate of patterns. This gate holds the fear of repeating the past. gate 44. Says, well, this didn't work out before, so I'm not going to try that again. Might say, well, I've tried this change before. Like maybe I tried a new job and I ended right back where I started. Or I tried to start a business and it just didn't work out, so I quit. It basically convinces you that what happened in the past is going to happen in the future. Your past failures mean your future failures, according to this gate, and that is just not true. Because every time you, quote, fail, you learn something. And if you're willing to take those lessons forward, there's no other thing in your future than success, because you're taking those lessons and applying them. So this gate can keep you from taking another chance on yourself, even when the timing and support are different. Don't let this tendency of past failures define you, because this only makes self-forgiveness and self-trust so difficult and ultimately keeps you stuck. Instead, start learning how to look back at the past, appreciate it for the lessons that it taught you, and think about how you can apply them moving forward. The next gate is gate 18, the fear of judgment. This is the gate of perfection. This is the gate of like finding all the little mistakes. And it asks the question, what will they think of me if I make this change? If I change too much, people aren't even going to recognize me. Who am I anymore? And listen to me. If you're in midlife, this is a question, right? This is something that you are probably thinking a lot about, because you're not the woman that you were 20 years ago. You're a completely different human, right? Our cells completely change. We get a complete body makeover every 7 years, right? And so literally you are not the same person that you were 7 years ago, 14 years ago, et cetera, et cetera. So this gate, though, is so afraid of that change because it comes back to belonging. It comes back to that tribal where you believe that you have to fit in order to survive. And it actually keeps midlife women stuck in old identities that don't fit you anymore. And you're feeling like you have to fix yourself in some way before you can be worthy of love or acceptance. You know, you have to be more like your 30-year-old self instead of your 40-year-old self who is here now. And this is just the energy that will keep you stuck and looking for more outside validation than what you need. What you need is inside validation. The next gate is the fear of authority, gate 32. And this gate says, I need permission. And going back to the idea of being conditioned to wait for external validation, this is the energy of the gate 32. It's like, do you have the validation of a partner? Do you have the validation of a job title? Do you have somebody else's validation before you trust yourself to take action? And you know what I'm going to say? The actual power comes from listening to you. It comes from listening to your authority. It comes from listening to what you believe is ultimately good for you and for your future. So the fear of failure or loss can actually make it really hard to take risks. That's the main reason that people don't take risks. But not taking a risk means that you stay small. And when you stay small, you're not being who you came here to be. You're not expanding into your fullest self. Okay, let's talk about gate 28. Gate 28 is called the game player. And there's this fear of meaninglessness in gate 28. It's like, what if this is all there is? This gate may sound like, I want more out of life, but maybe it's too late. Like maybe I'm already in midlife. How could I possibly make the change right now? What if this is just the life that I'm meant to live? What do I know? How do I know what to take action on that's actually going to be worth my time and effort? Gate 28 is opposite gate 38, which is the gate of struggle. And so this energy is really about knowing what's worth the struggle. But this gate can get lost in the fear of taking a risk, and it can like paralyze you into settling for less because you're just like, okay, well, I should be grateful for what I have, and it's really okay. The beauty of this fear is if you're willing to lean into it and get curious, it can actually lead you to some deep self-discovery. It can take you to a whole nother level of the human that you came here to be. Okay, let's talk about gate 50. Gate 50 is the gate of values, and it asks, what if I can't handle it? What if I make this huge change and I can't handle the consequences? Like, I'm going to have to manage all of the consequences that come as a result of this change. And do I really want to do that? I don't know if I can do that. If I invest in myself, will I let myself down? Will I let other people down? If I make this change, am I still going to be accepted? Or, the values that I'm finding in midlife, do they fit with my life right now? Do they fit with my tribe right now? This is another gate that convinces you that staying small is safe. But remember, in reality, your capacity grows when you trust yourself. Your soul and your personal growth is dependent on you trusting yourself. So, those are all of the gates in the spleen and all of the fears that are correlated with them. And they can show up really subtly. Maybe you hesitate before posting something on social media. That could be one of the fears coming up. Maybe you avoid trying something new and just always revert back to the things that are comfortable for you or that feel safe. Maybe you stay in relationships or jobs that don't serve you anymore because you don't fully trust your own wisdom, or you don't fully trust your capability of handling the consequences of leaving. So I want to talk a little bit about the cost of letting that fear win. Because when that fear is in control, you do stay small and you do prevent yourself from taking action. But you think that it's keeping you safe. However, I think it's this slow erosion of your dreams and your confidence and your self-trust. And what an incredibly important piece of yourself to lose in trade for staying what you perceive to be as safe. Here's what can happen if you choose to let fear run the show. Your dreams, the things that you've dreamt about for years and years, they stay as just dreams. Maybe you're feeling the pull to change careers. Maybe you're thinking about starting some kind of passion project. Maybe you want to travel somewhere or invest in yourself somehow, but fear keeps telling you, no, it's not the right time. I have to wait. I have to take care of my parents. My parents' health is declining and I need to be here. Maybe you're saying, I need to be here to support my children. Maybe I need to be here to, get dinner on the table every night. Maybe you're keeping yourself back because you think that you're going to make some strides in your career that you don't really love anyway, but you've put so much time in. And what happens is years pass and the desire doesn't fade, but the opportunity does. You find yourself passing opportunity and opportunity and opportunity. And soon you realize that, well, shit, now what I've got is a bucket load of regret. And that is what you end up carrying instead of these beautiful dreams that are ready to be nurtured and fulfilled. Another thing that happens is you prioritize your comfort over growth. So you stick with the familiar, even if it's unfulfilling, because it feels safe. And the thing is, we need to distill the meaning of safe. Safety is not satisfaction. It is not peace. It is not success. It is not delight. And if you don't know, those are the 4 signatures in human design, which is what you should always be working toward. Instead, you end up shrinking into your comfort zone, and this ends up making you feel all the more restless and unfulfilled. And you find yourself trying to find that satisfaction, trying to find that peace. And it's so hard because you're not really doing what you know you want to do. When Dana and Shayna were on the podcast, Shayna mentioned that she has become sort of the supporting character to her daughter, who is the main character in her life. And she just had a baby. And there is a phase of our lives as mothers when the main character of our story does become our brand new baby, right? And we nurture that child. And most of us listening to this podcast have older children if we are mothers. And what has happened for many of you is that you've spent decades making sure that your children, your parents, your coworkers, everybody else is taken care of, and you're putting yourself last. It's that martyr kind of feeling, like, I don't need anything, I'm good. And you silence your desires because over time, you convince yourself that they're selfish or impractical. Oh, I couldn't possibly do that because that's going to put out other people around me. And the thing is, midlife is the perfect time for you to be coming into the main character energy. And if you've been spending the last couple of decades as the supporting character, it's fucking time to reclaim the main character energy. Okay? Because one day you wake up and you realize that you don't know what you want anymore because you have put everybody else's wants and needs ahead of your own for literally decades. And so it's as simple as, what do I want to wear today? You know, like, it can be paralyzing for some women in midlife or as they're going through their 30s and 40s. It's like, holy shit, I don't even know what I want to wear right now. That's kind of one 3D example of where it can play out in your life that you've gotten so far removed from putting yourself first. Which leads me to my next consequence of letting fear run the show, which is that you settle. You settle for less than what you deserve. You know, your job is draining you. It sucks. You're at the end of the day and you just feel so drained and done, uninspired, the opposite of excited going into work. Maybe you have a relationship that doesn't nourish you, that doesn't feel exciting, that doesn't make you want to celebrate your love for one another regularly, you know, especially women in midlife, right? The gray divorce is a real thing. So many women get to this phase and think, holy shit, what have I been doing for the last few decades? Like, I don't even know that I'm a different person than I was. And maybe you've grown apart. And you find that maybe you're settling and maybe your partner is settling too. So this version of yourself feels smaller than you truly are. And you might be telling yourself, like, this is fine, I'll get through it. But deep down, you know that it's not. You know that it's not what you want. The next thing that can happen when you're letting fear dictate what you do and the choices that you make is you're sending the message to yourself and to others that you're not worth it. Every time you choose fear over self-trust, you're reinforcing the belief that your dreams, your desires, your well-being, it doesn't matter. because you're fine, right? Your kids, though, your kids, the humans that you brought earthside see this. Your friends see this, and they are learning from you. They're learning more from what your choices are than what you're telling them, because the truth is that you were made for more. So listen, what if instead of letting fear hold you back, you saw it as proof that you're standing on the edge of something amazing? What if investing in yourself, whether it's time or money or energy, what if it wasn't a risk, but instead a reclamation? What if investing in yourself was a reclamation? Because the real risk is, of course, waking up in 10 years and realizing, shit, I never really went for it. I coulda, shoulda, woulda. Carrying that regret bucket around. So I want to mention the episode Stepping into the Wild Woman, Letting Go of the Good Girl Archetype is a great episode to go back and listen to help you with really owning your inner wild woman. Which brings me to, what do we do about this? How do we actually turn these fears into trusting ourselves? So the first thing, this is always the first step to any kind of personal development work you do, it's awareness. It's noticing when those fears are activated. It's hearing the fear in your mind, or noticing when you're hesitating to do something and questioning where that hesitation is coming from. So awareness is such a beautiful tool to be able to change your patterns. And then instead of letting fear dictate what's going to happen, just get curious. Even if you're not ready to take action, just get curious. What if you trusted yourself in this situation? What if you trusted yourself just a little bit more today in this specific situation? How could it be easy? How could it be more fun? How could it possibly work out for you even better than you could have imagined? Another thing to try is, of course, embodiment. So grounding, which means literally go outside and stick your feet. I mean, here in the Northeast, it's stick your feet in the snow. But if you're someplace warm, stick your feet on the grass. Imagine roots going down into the earth and just leaving all of those fears with Mama Earth. Let her take them and compost them into beauty. Something like breath work can be really helpful in letting our fears go. Even participating in breath work can bring up fears because it's such an intense experience. And so practicing that and moving through it, and again, going back to the idea of building evidence for yourself, showing yourself that you got through, showing yourself how you feel when you accomplished that. And then another thing I love, of course, is dance, but any kind of intuitive movement can help just move fear-based energy through, especially if you're feeling really jittery about something or nervous, you have anxious energy, just move your body to help get the energy in motion. Of course, you know that human design is a fantastic tool for loving yourself. And I want you to understand that if you have these fears, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. You came here with these gates. You wanted this design for yourself. So understand that the key is working with them, not against them. So it's understanding that what the fears are, and then just being aware, and then learning to flip the script from what if I fail to what if this actually changes everything for the better. Also take the tiniest little but bold actions that you can to show your nervous system that it's safe to trust yourself. And of course, work with other women who are doing the same thing so they can bolster you up. And you know that this is the work that we're doing in Wild Women by Design. So if you haven't already joined us for the retreat container, I invite you to do so. We are amidst our online support and would love for you to join us. So again, your fear gates are not something to be afraid of, to be annoyed about. You came here with them as part of your design. And it's just about raising your awareness and understanding that when they come up, when they make themselves known, that it's just an invitation for you to rewrite your story. So if you look at fears as a crossroads, just like midlife. I mean, midlife is full of so many potential crossroads. And each time you come to a crossroad, it means change, which means that your body's probably going to freak out a little bit because it's something different. And I'm encouraging you to not let that stop you. And how can you instead let it be your guide to something bigger? How can you tap into your human design and the energy centers that are defined and your definition in general? How can you tap into all of that to understand who you came here to be? And how can you step into that with so much more confidence than you've had in years because you have this lived experience? And how can you use these fears as just signposts? They're just opportunities for you to get curious about what could be on the other side of that fear. So again, if you want to step past this in community with other women who are doing the same thing, join us in Wild Women by Design. And if this resonated with you, I would so love to hear your thoughts. So send me a DM on Instagram or send me an email, and I would love to hear what breakthrough did you have while listening to this episode. I hope you learned a lot about yourself, about the things that might be holding you back, about the specifics of your personal human design in relationship to your spleen center. And I hope that some of the things that I talked about in today's episode are an invitation for you to just get curious about where those fears are coming from. And then how do you move past them? So, of course, I want to invite you as well to Wild Women by Design, where we are doing so much of this work inside the retreat container. You know that we are both hosting the retreat, a glorious 6 days in Costa Rica out of this crazy snow. I'm in the Northeast, as you know, in Vermont, and there is so much snow right now. So we are retreating to Costa Rica in late March to reignite our fire and invite in some of that spring equinox energy and fill our bodies and souls with warmth. And we're also working through a lot of these fears. And the women who have already joined us have taken one of the biggest steps possible by overcoming the fear that they may have had about committing to something like this, about spending time and money on themselves, and are actually taking a chance. And we invite you to join us in this beautiful container. So whether you are interested in the community or whether you need to dive deeply into your human design and want to do that in an amazing group of midlife mavens who are doing the same work, you are welcome. So I will leave the link in the show notes. And as always, I'm sending you the strength to release what no longer serves you, joy to fill your days, and clarity to be who you came here to be.